So Surgeon Sparks is on everybody's mind at the moment. It seems to be going up in value. We're seeing pre-sales. I'm seeing TikToks of everybody opening it up so much earlier. Like, we don't see this with very many sets. Normally on the release is when everybody gets it, or maybe a day or two before, and half the time it's distributors, people who own the shops and kind of get it a couple of days early. I've seen it for the past couple of days, people are opening up the English version of obviously Surgeon Sparks, and that's caused a panic of people buying stuff, but then also the panic of actually selling it. We've seen massive amounts of upgrades on sales, and to be honest, I normally look at one specific site for all of my cards to start with, to then see where the prices go. And for an English seller, or English buyer I suppose, that would be Magic Madhouse. It's normally one of the ones that you can go to and you guarantee they've got stock, but it might be a little bit more, say, than TikTok Shop, which obviously does get some flash sales, all of that jazz. So when you go over to the Pokemon sets, if you go over to the Surgeon Sparks, we can see at the moment that the booster box at this time, which is the 29th of October, is coming in at 135,000. Now they say IRP 154 for Stellar Crown, for any of the other sets that we've had. So what we got? We got Stellar Crown, Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved, Twilight. They're normally ranging from about 105 to maybe 110, 115 max. And this can be a week prior to the set, a month prior to the set. They kind of stay around that sort of vibe. Now with TikTok Shop, normally you get it, you can find them at sales at about 90, but normally that's got to be after the set is fully released. So when it comes to that, you're thinking, okay, well, this set is either selling really, really well. It's very rarely on TikTok at the moment. And if we're looking at the shops here, now obviously with this, there is still stock, so that's a good thing anyway. It isn't necessarily sold out, but the hype on it is incredible. Like, it's probably one of the biggest sets we've seen so far. So the question is really that I wanted to kind of share with you is, if you are new to the game, you're new to collecting, you're coming back, and maybe you are looking to dabble in a few more sets than just your 151, which saw a massive increase of nostalgic back into Pokemon. Now the one thing is, I wouldn't necessarily panic this too much. When we look across anything, the panic normally is like a fueled up hype that drops down. Now, I'm not saying that it will drop down massively, because we've seen sets where the hype does stay within some level. And a good way to always have a look at any sort of hype is on TCG Player. So TCG Player is like the Bible for Pokemon in terms of where you look at pricing. A lot of people will go to either like the price, I think it's called like price listing or chart listing. That's got a good one as well. But when you go to TCG Player, you can have a look at everything from cards to products to everything. So we can see, as we've got here, you've obviously got the pre-sale, and you can kind of see where we're at with stuff already. This is from August 26th, when the pre-sales, or the the pre-orders kind of went about. We can see it kind of was at around about $148. It's the only thing I don't like with this site is it has to be in dollars. Obviously I work in pounds, so I have to always convert it. I'm not quite up on the exchange rate all the time, but at the moment we're coming at about 140. So you normally have like the excessive, like I'm ordering it now, then maybe you got a bit of kind of leeway. We then saw the electric pack, which is the Japanese version, and it just went absolutely nuts. So it is interesting to see the kind of difference behind that. But when you look at some of the pre-sales as well, I don't know if they're going to have any cards on here, but if there was the Pikachu, I will have to look on eBay, but there is some crazy pricing for it. What I can do, in fact, is if I go here, and then we'll go from high to low, because that's just best match, we'll be able to see, like, obviously getting a case of them. Then you've got a case of Elite Trainer boxes. You've obviously got the Pokemon Center one coming in quite expensive as well already. That one, as you see, the hype is absolutely massive. Now that is the big thing, is never buy into the hype. It just isn't worth it, especially as a casual collector. It just isn't worth buying into that massive hype. It really isn't. So if I was to go back one, we've obviously got, that's the Pokemon Center. It's a special Elite Trainer box. The normal Elite Trainer box would be this one, so that is always a good one to go to as well. By the looks of it, I don't think that's the Pikachu. I don't think that's the normal one. So I'll have a look on eBay, which is going to be this one. And the prices on this is just crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, I think this card is immaculate. It will look incredible, and it will definitely be the #1 chase card. But to spend that much on this card already is just absolutely nuts. For me, I just don't think it would be worth that amount. And as you can see, I want to be, the one thing I did want to have a look at is obviously the actual sales of this, because anybody can list it up, but I have seen a few people actually being able to show it. So there we go, sold items, just in case you wanted to see this. So we've seen a 175, 18 bids. Best offer, we don't get to see that. Best offer, 250, 395, like that. It's just absolutely crazy. We've got 250 again. If you was to be able to get this card early on, like, I can see why people are opening up like crazy to be able to try and get it, because that is just so expensive. It's unbelievable for a card that more than likely will sit around the 100 to 200 mark. Like, we haven't seen many of the big chase cards hit that far down in so long. Like, if we go over to here, like Stellar Crown, I know this is very much guesswork with some of them because it isn't necessarily the full price, but we know this card was the chase card in Stellar Crown. That one's now at 94, if it's about right, TCG player. So already that one was about 140 on release, now has dropped down even more. If we go to even an older set, like we look at something like, let's go Obsidian Flames, I believe it's one of the Charizards. That one was very, very expensive to start with, which will be right at the end. We are looking for, it's not that one. Where is it gone? Is it that one? It's not that one. Or no, it could be that one actually. That one's at 50. I don't think it's that one. Another good way of obviously doing that is just by going into the set itself. So obviously if you go here, what you can do is if you go Pokemon, I go Obsidian Flames, it should have everything here. So I can just go back and just get rid of all that. And then this should then give us everything that's high priced in Obsidian Flames, and we can see where the cards are actually at. So Obsidian Flames, and then we can have a look at the #1. So we've got high to low in terms of the price. So you're looking at 55. If we go into this card in itself, we'll give a year's price. You can see even before then, obviously it's been out a little bit longer than a year. We was kind of at 57 to start with. Now the average price is looking at like 40 for a lightly played holo, but these are all the sell prices of them, and it's absolutely nuts to see that card coming in so expensive. If we go a bit further down, if say we look at, where's the big Chonkachu, Vivid Voltage. So we've got the price guides on this one, if it's going to show me. So here we go. So we can go, this is like the full complete guide of all of the set if you are looking for everything. So we're looking at the VMAX Pikachu, the big Rainbow Chonkachu. That was the kind of chase one in Vivid Voltage. And you can see even then, the hype of him, he went really up there at 128. And to be fair, he's been out longer, obviously, but he's gone all the way up and he still comes back down. And it may not be loads, like you're thinking $20 is not necessarily a great deal of up and down, but then when you add, like maybe before the pricing of it might have been 200, 300, the amount that you'd pay per card is just absolutely nuts when it comes to it, because this is just one card. So if you did this with every single one buying straight off the rim, that is where it then gets really expensive, and you're just throwing away value more so than anything. So it is learning not to go crazy into the hype. I know the Greninja, this is definitely an argument for one that is just absolutely crazy in itself. You've obviously could have bought him really low, and you'd kind of know with a card like this, you can tell with the design, with how it's kind of featured, and Greninja was definitely one that went up into the skies, and you could kind of, if you bought him at the right price, you'd be looking pretty high right now. But in terms of kind of trying to take that risk with him, it would have been the question of, does he go up? No, nobody knows that he's going to double in value, maybe even, I think that's even triple at some stage, really, at 322. The question is now is that going to be the same for this set? Now, I think they definitely will have a big market on him, but whether I see him being £300-400, I get that people want to pay it now, but we don't know anything about the pull rate yet. We don't know the full sets, if it's going to go completely out of stock or not. Obviously all these will say out of stock, but it's all pre-sales anyway, so you'll be able to find this still. And the big thing as well, we've seen with the likes of 151, with all the other sets, is that it's not going to run out of stock within the first week. It just won't. No sets will, because the printing that they are doing now, they are latching on to the fact that everyone's buying at the moment. Everybody is either investing, is either buying just for a collection, or just buying for a sealed product and maybe not investing but having a product rather than necessarily the cards. Like, I can imagine there's quite a few people that are buying a booster box, not necessarily to open, but just to have in their collection. I think it's definitely something that I didn't find that appealing to start with. And then when you kind of look at them and you think, okay, it's pretty cool to have a couple of products lying around where they are sealed, and maybe it's just something that rather than opening up and maybe losing a bit of value, like for instance in ETB, you could get 9 packs of all hits, or you could have one hit and that's it, and a 40 to, well, it's probably more about 40 to 45 pound box turns into about 15 pounds. Granted, you do get some products in there. You get the Magnemite promo, you obviously get the packs as well that technically you don't have to open, but the main value is coming from the box itself. And obviously a lot of people are looking at the investment side of it, which is fair enough. I think with this set, it's probably, I would hate to use the word guarantee, but it does look like a pretty good set in general. Like, especially with what cards we've got coming in the near future with the Rockets, with the new Japanese Eevee set. There's going to be a lot riding on this set as well. This is kind of like a chain reaction of sets that are coming out. Once we then get an Eevee set that's potentially to be next, the Dragon set, then we go Rockets, Gym Heroes. The investment side of it is going to go crazy. Cards are going to be very expensive, and it's just going to go to that sort of next level again. But most definitely with this, I wouldn't panic too much. I wouldn't, if you're finding that maybe £135 for a box is a little bit too expensive, you can wait. There is going to be reprints more than likely of a set like of this magnitude. If it does come out that it's selling far beyond reach, they will definitely reprint it again, or at least make new products. We're seeing that with 151. The products in themselves are incredibly through the roof. Now, I know it's very hard to put anything on the caliber of 151 because they know exactly what they're doing with it. It's a nostalgic hit and a half. Like, we're looking at booster boxes now. Like, this one unfortunately didn't have full booster boxes, it was booster bundles. But like, you look at something like the ETB, if you're looking at the standard one, that's coming now at $94 on market price. That should be around about 40 to 50 at a minimum, so, or at a maximum really, for release anyway. And obviously you've got some nice hitters. You've got the Charizard, the Blastoise, Zapdos, Venusaur's obviously in there as well. They're massive hitters, but even then they have released the information of new products coming. May not be well, I think there is going to be a full reprint of this set anyway, but they're adding more cards into promo boxes. So like how we've got, for instance, the Terra box. So if we, I think it's Terra Brawlers, I want to say. Yeah, this one. So, for instance, when you look at something like this, it isn't part of a set like the Ogerpon. It isn't part of a set. It's just a premium collection box. This is going to have certain packs in them. Like we see, we've got Surgeon Sparks. It might be Temporal Forces. Twilight Masquerade's going to be featured in it. That's going to be the same for 151. So it could just be a full special box, but it's got 4 packs of 151. They already then are going to be incredibly wanted. The price of them are going to be crazy because 151 is already in that popularity. So when it comes to Surgeon Sparks, maybe yes, it is going to be slightly more expensive to buy the product straight away. So if you're not willing to buy the products, then buy the singles. The singles will still remain that sort of same price. You'll just find maybe a handful of the cards that are slightly more expensive, because obviously with that, if I go back to this again, when you find with the handful ones, they will drop down and kind of up and down in price as we go. And you can see a lot of these different things. So if you go best match for these, you'll find a lot of the new ones, like the Charizard Premium Box. Obviously, that came with quite a considerable amount of packs. You had a few of Temporal Forces, you had Twilight, you had, I think, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames. That's going to add some more value into each of them sets, because either people are opening them up or it's another reprint that could drop everything else. So there is a lot to unpack it with it, and I do think it's going to be a good set nonetheless. It is going to be one of them sets that I think everybody will want. It's got a great card list for it. If we can get the card list up, actually, I don't know if it's fully in this site yet, because it's technically not available yet. So if you do look at kind of the Super Electric Breaker, it's going to be very very similar. This is the Japanese version. So when you look at quite a lot of these, when you go down to the alt arts, like this, for instance, is going to be our promo for the ETB, but most of these are going to be within the set as well. Obviously, the Pikachus and also the Hydrogens are going to be the big hitters. You've got Gold Pikachu, normal, and then you've got this huge amount one. And in terms of Japanese sets, I don't know how much that is, but regardless, it's going to be the hitter of the set anyway. But I would suggest, that's why I've kind of made this video, don't go straight into the hype. You can wait it out. And if not, if you don't want to buy the products with that, then just wait on and just buy the singles. It's so much cheaper than buying into a hype like this. There will be times where it will drop down massively, and it's just bound to, because the printing roll that they go with now is so much greater than many other sets that we see. For the previous sets that we've had, like for instance, if we go back down to the Sun and Moon, the X and Y, there was a huge amount of printed demand. But now it's like tenfold since obviously COVID, and when people started getting back into it, Evolutions obviously kicked off, and then with even before then with the black and white era, there wasn't necessarily almost like a massive collection of them. There was still huge collectors in the industry, in the sport of it, but now there's just double the amount. There's many YouTubers on it, there's many collectors, investors, there's people that haven't even collected Pokemon cards since the base that are now into the game. And I think a lot of it, for my personal perspective, is because we're reliving this part of it. Like I collected from the base set probably until about, I want to say probably about Skyridge. I definitely went through all the Neos, and that was kind of about it. Once then it's kind of disappeared, but yet they've still obviously given a lot of sets out, and even now they're just going tenfold with it. There is so many sets per one. Like we even just look at the Sword and Shield where I came back, there's a huge amount more, and then even now we're starting to see a huge value in the Scarlet and Violet as well. So don't go too crazy into the hype. It will come down, and hopefully in the next few days we will manage to get some products out and we can give a test for ourselves. But let me know how you're getting on with it. Are you just buying one specific set, or are you going for the mother load and going for everything? Let me know down below. Peace.